I was recently working on a project that had a leaf motif with kind of a stylized leaf with this sort of shape to it, and there was a kind of particular aspect to it that I realized as I was working on it that I figured I'd share. And it's a little bit of an interesting chip where it's kind of got this part, that uncarved surface that comes into it, um, and it's not too complex or tricky of a chip. For kind of general purposes, but there was one aspect that stood out to me as I was carving it. So just carving that first line and then doing the second one, and just follow the design line there. And as with this shape typically, I'm at the end of the design line, but in order to get the bottom of the chip, the knife continues on so that now the knife tip is at the deepest part. Get that out of the way. And so, same thing on this side. Continue past that design line to get to the bottom of the chip. And it comes out like that. And there's nothing really wrong with this chip. It's not bad at all, but you can see the uncarved surface here is between those lines. The thing that I didn't especially like for the way this was turning out is just because of the geometry of chip carving, even though the surface uncarved is kind of leaving this vein in the middle, the facet, the angle of the chip that comes down away from it on both sides, kind of makes the appearance of this vein wider. It makes it kind of take up more of the space, both laterally and lengthwise. So this kind of ridge coming from the vein goes further, and now it's more than half of the way up to the end of the vein, or the end of the leaf. Whereas you can see originally it's kind of back here. It's about half or less than half the length of the leaf blade. And so I really wanted the final effect or the result of the vein to look more like this original design before cutting. So what I realized is I need to account for both of those things, the extra width as well as the extra length. And so what ends up happening is I need to, well, let me cut the first outer part here. So instead of following the line precisely, I'm going to actually come a little bit inside for most of it to kind of make it a little bit skinnier. In fact, I can do a little bit more, make it skinnier. And then I'm also going to, by doing that, I'm kind of cutting it off shorter. So it's not coming all the way up here where it was before, and now it's only coming to about here. Make sure I've got that cut out. So then, same thing here, I can start kind of at this point, and then immediately start coming inside that line and cut across more tightly to that chip. Oops. So now we can see the deepest part here where the vein kind of ridge ends is pretty much parallel to where it was in there. And you can play around with this. You can always come back and cut a little bit more of the width off if you want. And really, if you wanted to make the adjustments after carving this, you still could do that. And I could come in here and say, okay, I want this to be cut off here, and make the adjustment after the fact like this as well. But the danger there is if you had any undercut on the first go around like this, you end up with this kind of exposed cut visible on that face, inside face of the chip. So I think it is better to kind of account for it in the original cut rather than making the adjustment later. And if you're making a custom design, then you can also account for that in the design. Make it a little bit shorter and a little bit skinnier than what you'd want it to, so that when you cut that line, it takes into account the width and length. But you can see here is the project, and it's a little bit different with the stain, because the ridges actually kind of blended in, compared to, you know, here where the shadows are doing most of the work. But with the darker stain, it kind of fills in a little bit more evenly, but still kind of plays into the overall look of the size and shape of the veins I was going for. So yeah, just a note there of kind of, depending on the look, if you're not going for geometry, kind of more the particular, in this case, leaf sort of look, being aware of how the chip carving geometry works and what the end result's going to be if you need to make any modifications.